Assalamu alaikum. I send you greetings of peace as it is a Muslim tradition, and welcome to you all to this very special webinar with our amazing guests, Amreen Kadwa and Noor Alexandria Abukaram. Before we begin, feel free to leave your questions in the chat box. We will try our best to answer them at the end. Thank you. Introducing our first speaker, Noor Alexandria Abukaram, is a senior at the Bounty Collegium, a non-traditional high school that challenges students to identify their passion. Noor's passion consists of fashion design, and sports, including soccer, track, and cross country, where she challenges herself to push barriers and pursue new opportunities. With her interest in textile engineering, Noor participated in 4 consecutive state science fairs and received superior scores and state recognition. In the 2019 cross-country season, during a cross-country meet, Noor was disqualified for wearing the hijab after running her personal best. Noor decided to speak out and make a statement about the discrimination she experienced, which gained national attention. After realizing that so many people are challenged with similar experiences, Noor decided to start the Let Noor Run initiative, which aims to fight discrimination and injustice in doing what we love. Noor envisions all sports to provide a safe haven where young athletes can express what they believe in while doing what they love. Welcome, Noor. How are you feeling today?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. It's awesome to be here with you guys.
We're
Thank you
honored.
so much for having me.
No, thank you for being here. Introducing our second speaker, Amreen Kadwa is a founder and executive director of nonprofit organization Hijabi Ballers. Hijabi Ballers works to increase representation and opportunities for Muslim females in sports in the Toronto area. Amreen grew up playing rugby and studied economics and international development at the University of Guelph. Her unique combination of skills and experience in socioeconomic community development through sport and culture has allowed her to be a trailblazer for Muslim females in Toronto. She has spearheaded Hijabi Ballers to becoming a one-of-a-kind resource for all things Muslim, women, and sport. Amreen loves to be engaged in her community, helping it thrive and grow in its all in sorry and grow in all its potential. She has also just recently began the journey of motherhood and loves every bit of it. Personally, having had the opportunity to be part of many projects with Amreen, she's an individual I consider a sister and a mentor. I am very honored to be leading this conversation. Welcome, Amreen. How are you feeling today?
Assalamualaikum. I'm good, alhamdulillah. I'm excited to chat with both of you.
Yay, we're so honored to have you. So thank you. I would love to start by, I guess, the both of you telling us about how your sport journey began and why do you think it's so important to be active, or why is it important for you guys to be active? And let's start off with Amreen and then followed by Noor.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, my sport journey probably began, when I was in grade 10 when I joined the rugby team. So I know I was a late bloomer when it came to like being an athlete because most people start playing when they're kids. I didn't really have too many opportunities to play organized sport when I was a kid. So I was always into sports. Yeah, my first sports team that I was a part of was my rugby team in grade 10. And ever since then, I fell in love with sports. I fell in love with rugby. And I really just wanted to continue staying in the sport world. So I had a major injury, after what, like 6, 7 years of playing rugby. So I was very attached to the sport and just giving back to the community through sport. So when I started Hijabi Ballers, it was just a perfect, it filled that gap for me and more. Like it opened up so many doors for Muslim females in our community to play sport, to learn how to play, to just hone their skills, to use public spaces, public sports spaces, and so many other things. So yeah, here we are today. It's been a long journey through sport for the last 10 12 years, but alhamdulillah, I'm grateful for where we are now. And yeah, so many lessons have been learned along the way.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Noor.
So I've been an athlete my entire life. Both my parents were collegiate athletes. They both played in college. So like the minute I could walk, I was on the soccer field. But running was like the new thing to me, and I started running my junior year, and that's when I joined the cross country team. And my mom was actually training for a half marathon during that time, that I decided to join the cross country team. And I was like, man, if she could do it, I can do it, you know. So I joined the team, and I fell in love with cross country specifically because I was so used to soccer, which became such like a heavy sport that was like a lot of bias in it, a lot of politics that were involved with like how you do and stuff. So doing cross country, it really just gave me this like breath of fresh air because it was like all up to me. You know what I mean? All that mattered was your time and how fast you ran. So that's why like I quickly fell in love with running, just because I had full control of my success in the sport.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then I guess the second part of the question, why is being active important to you?
Um, so I like again, like I've always played sport, and whenever the off season comes, there's a complete shift in my mood. Okay. Like I'm not the same person that I am when the season is on. And I think that because, sports, it's like it's very clear what it does for people physically, but a lot of the times we don't talk about like how much it benefits people mentally. And I think for me, that's what sports did for me the most. And I notice it in like other girls, especially girls that are like new in athletics. Like once they start running or they start training, you can see like an immediate shift in their mood just because it helps so much. Just like for me, like it helped me like be more confident, and most of all, honestly, it helped me be more responsible. And just like taking those attributes that I learned from athletics, and I was able to like shift them into running, let nor run. That's probably the reason why, alhamdulillah, like it got off on such like so smoothly, just because I had that experience from athletics, just like that responsibility and that like taking control of your craft and what you're doing.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
totally
Thank
agree.
you. I mean, go ahead. Yeah, I was gonna ask you.
No, I was just gonna add, like, yeah, sports is about so much more than just like the physical health benefits. It just, especially playing team sport and going to practice twice a week, going to games, things like that. It builds you up into this like resilient, responsible, like committed individual. So yeah, that's definitely what rugby did for me as well.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for sharing. And then this question is for me. You decided to start Hijabi Ballers due to the lack of representation and opportunities provided for Muslim women sports in Canada. I know on a multiple occasion we discussed how you never imagined it to be or have this impact it's having on a global scale. Can you tell us a little bit about Hijabi Ballers and why did you think it's having a bigger impact than you had imagined?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would have imagined the scene that like Muslim women in sport is right now to be what it is. Like 3, 4, 5 years ago, like no one would have imagined we would have been, here having this summit and having all these amazing speakers and things like that too. So, not just hijabi ballers, but I think the whole scene of Muslim women in sport has grown through I think a main part of it is just through social media. We've had so much more exposure to and representation of Muslim females and Muslim female athletes. That everyday athletes like me and you are like comfortable going out to play, are comfortable being proud of our identities as athletes. So when I started Hijabi Ballers, it was I didn't even know what I was starting, to be honest. I just wanted to get a group of Muslim female athletes together and like you know fill the gap. So I didn't even know what gap there was. I just wanted to talk to them and figure this out. So when I got responses from, I think about like 40 or 50 Muslim female, I think most of them are hijab wearing athletes in the Toronto area. I was like, well, there's a lot of people here, a lot of people who clearly want to be part of something bigger than just them being an athlete. So there was definitely like potential there to do something. So we had our first event, which was this big summer sports festival for Muslim females. And it wasn't, like an all female closed space event. It was like a public open field. Um, and Muslim females are not, well, we're not used to having, you know, open space dedicated for them. It's usually when you're in like a closed, women's only space, that's where Muslim females feel comfortable playing sport, and that's also totally fine. But having a public space where you could have families there, where men could come and appreciate women, and their husbands and their brothers and their fathers could come and support female athletes for who they were. So that was really special. And I think that was the moment where, we had, I think, about 200 people or so that came out to our like very first event, which is huge. And that kind of, put the seal on this whole program that, this is something that's here to stay, and it's something that's going to keep fighting for Muslim female athletes and addressing our needs and filling these gaps. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, like I remember running into Hijabi Balders through this campaign you guys were doing with a local organization. And then I remember being so excited. Like I couldn't believe what I literally just read. I'm just like, wait, what? An organization just for Muslim female athletes? Because I remember like in Toronto, trying to find my community was a struggle. So I'm like, I have to be part of this organization. And I'm just so honored that you decided to do that, because I love, where the organization, is going, and that changes already like in the at the community level at least. We are currently seeing. So thank you. I'm sure a lot of Torontonians are already appreciative of the work that you're doing, but yes.
Yeah, and you too, Fitria. Like Hijabi Ballers wouldn't be where it is without you and your help. And so it all comes back to you and all our volunteers who put in all the work.
Yeah, amazing. And then I guess like you briefly touched upon the second part of the question, but why do you think it's having a bigger impact than you had imagined?
I think a lot of it is because of increased representation through social media, and truth speaks on social media. We don't have to rely on a third-party media company to give us the exposure that we want. Like we're taking the charge here. So I definitely think because of social media we've gotten so far, and I think representation has to play a really big part in this. Like if regular Muslim females see other Muslim female athletes on social media, on Instagram, killing it, like breaking barriers, but like just living their everyday lives, proud of their Muslim identity, proud of their athlete identity, that speaks volumes, and that's what so inspirational to just you and me and like the everyday person. So I think that definitely has to play a big part in it. And also I think as a community, like we're becoming more and more resilient. We're coming together more. We're realizing that how our marginalized communities have been oppressed over the years, and how all these systemic barriers are affecting us, and we're at this point where we're not willing to just take it for what it is, and we want to fight back. So a lot of it is the passion and drive that's coming from these volunteers and these community members and athletes to not just take what we're handed, but like ask for more and fight for more.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. This question's for Noor. So in the 2019 cross-country season, during a cross-country meet, you were unfortunately disqualified from your race for wearing the hijab after running your personal best. The unfair decision caught the media's attention, in which it should have, you decided to make the Let Noor Run campaign a movement that went beyond the unfortunate incident. I cannot imagine how you must have felt, but I'm glad you did not let that stop you from participating in the sport you love, because that was exactly what they were trying to do. My question is, what led you into making the Let Noor Run, such a tongue twister for me, Let Noor Run campaign into an organization? And then I'll have a follow-up question. But yeah, what made you decide to make that an organization?
Yeah, so after I like told my story and it gained and it went viral, I realized that my unique circumstance was a common reality, and that I received many messages from people like all around the world who had faced similar discrimination. And I came to the realization that most athletes who face discrimination don't have the opportunity to share their stories the way that I did. And that's what powered me to start the Let Noor Run initiative, which aims to fight discrimination and injustices in doing what we love.
Awesome. And then what are, I know you've been doing a lot of work in terms of like doing an annual campaign just bringing awareness to the issue. But what are some other works that you've been doing with, with this organization, the initiative?
Yeah, so so alhamdulillah, over the past year and a half, we started off with our Let Noor Run event, which is where I really honed in on focusing on showing that there's more to this than just my story, and that there's so many people. And that's when I was able to work with Bilqis and Amaya, and we brought our stories together, just to show that it's a bigger problem than just me in Toledo. And that really, I think, shed light especially to the Toledo community. And then we raised money for schools to be equipped with sports hijabs for hijabi athletes here in the Toledo area. So that way schools are just more inclusive here in Ohio. And alhamdulillah, I was able to visit Ohio schools, because with the bill, Senate Bill 181, which prohibits organizations from implementing discriminatory policies, I was able to learn a lot about civic participation. And subhanAllah, that's one of the fourth grade requirements for fourth graders to learn. So I went around to different schools, and I visited them virtually and in person, and I talked to them about civic participation and about the bill. And today, most recently is Senate Bill 181 being passed in the Senate, and inshallah in the House soon.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm sure, yes, it's not only your story. You're telling a lot of other, not only Muslim, but also other religious individuals that would have to, wear a head covering. So
yeah,
thank you.
And I think that's the most beautiful thing about the bill, is that it's from implementing religious discriminatory policies. And when I went to go testify for the bill, there was also a Christian woman testifying. There was a Jewish man testifying. But everyone was there because it was about religious freedom, and it wasn't just about me at that point.
Exactly. That's amazing. So thank you. That's literally what we're all fighting for. So you definitely set that, that tone. So thank you again. For me, Hijabi Ballers has done some amazing work with large corporations, local to national level over the years. From Nike, the Canadian Women's Sports Foundation, the Toronto Raptors, in which you inspired the team to launch team-based sport hijab, to creating a coach's guide through the made to play hijab playbook. Tongue twister again. There are so many things and other amazing initiatives that are in the making. How did these opportunities come about, and what kind of impact do you think this type of collaboration is having on the Muslim community at large?
I think a lot of these collaborations with these big organizations and corporations kind of flowed one after the other. We partnered with this cinematographer who basically volunteered to help us make this promo video for Hijabi Ballers, and he had a contact at Nike, and that's how our relationship with Nike started. But I think whether that had happened or not, I think it would have just been a matter of time before these organizations caught on to what we were doing, and wanted to partner with us and create programs together, because I think ultimately you guys know Shireen. Shireen always tells me this, they need us more than we need them. So I think it's not exclusive to just one or two organizations. I think it's just a global sports scene in general. They need Muslim women more than we need them. We have our community. We have a community who's dedicated to playing sport and doing whatever we need to do to play our sport. So having collaborations with these corporations and organizations, as amazing as it is, and as helpful as it is to our organization, we get a lot of funding from them. We get gear, we get a lot of resources from them. I think ultimately it comes down to what our mission and what our values are, which is to celebrate Muslim females in sport, recognize them, increase representation in sports spaces for Muslim women, and just create opportunities for them to thrive. So for as long as we keep that as our goal and our mission, no number of big corporations and big partnerships um, can kind of shift our vision from that, from what we want to achieve. So yeah, I think like we're very grateful to have partnerships with the Toronto Raptors, with Nike. It just shows how um, how essential we are to the big picture of just athletes and of sport in general, especially being the team to inspire the Toronto Raptors to launch their own like team logo hijab. That was really big for us. It was a big moment for, I think, all Muslim fans, all females, female fans in basketball, considering that the NBA is obviously a male team, but there are a ton of female fans. So having something that recognized us as fans was really important, and it validated our interest, our involvement in sport, which is what we ultimately want, right? Like the more we feel validated and accepted, the more we are willing to take part in sport programs and to take part in sports spaces, and the more we feel safe to do so. Um, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then I wanted to just briefly touch on the playbook, because I know it's something that we worked for like over a year, like since last COVID. Well, since the beginning of COVID, we're still in COVID, but it launched finally on National Hijab Day. So why do you think that type of work specifically is important, like the playbook alone?
So we made the made to play Nike playbook. It's called the hijab playbook, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And myself, Fitria, Hodan from Hijabi Ballers, and Huda, she's an athlete from the Netherlands. So we pretty much like collaborated with Nike to create this hijab playbook, and the point of it was to create this resource that goes to schools and organizations across North America who have a big population of Muslim female athletes that come to their programs um, to use as a resource around sport hijab. What is a hijab? Why do girls wear hijab? How is a sport hijab supposed to fit? Why is a sport hijab different from a regular hijab? What are the benefits? All these things that coaches are too afraid to ask athletes, and athletes are too uncomfortable to like talk to their coaches about. It's like, hey, here's this resource. Um, here's some hijabs that you give to your athletes, and here's a resource that accompanies it. So I think that was a wonderful project that we did together, and having organizations in Nike's circle receive all these hijabs and receive this hijab playbook was huge, because we are a small nonprofit organization in Toronto, so our network and our circle is limited, and to have our resources and our knowledge be amplified to that scale and to be shared with all these other networks and other organizations was huge, because that's what we want, right? Like we have all this knowledge, we have all these resources that we put together, but we need somebody. We need an organization who has a reach like Nike to be able to distribute them and to have the trust in us to share our message with all these other organizations who also serve Muslim female athletes and have a similar purpose and vision like we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Huda was also honored to be part of the summit's, I guess, no, sorry, part of the conversation. And she also, said the same thing. And honestly, I was definitely humbled. And the fact that we were a part of that, experience from the beginning till the end was definitely an honor. So again, literally, the advocacy work is not, we have to try to include as much as other organizations we can to get the word out, because we could talk as much as we want within our community, but we need people outside of our community to actually understand and you know what I mean? Yeah, to be an ally for us.
Like we can't be the change makers for everyone, right? Like we can't keep reinventing the wheel. Like there are people in positions of power who have the reach, who have the network. So to include them as allies is far more important than to take up their space and to try to do what they're doing.
Yep, absolutely. And then Noor, this is still, I still can't believe this happened, because this is every Muslim woman's activist goal, like literally to meet this level of, leading change. So earlier this week, I know you briefly already mentioned about, Bill 181, but you announced it on your Instagram that Ohio Senate passed a bill that will protect religious expression of student athletes in Ohio called Senate Bill 181. Can you tell us a little bit about this bill? I know you briefly mentioned it, but like
Yeah.
a bit more. And what does this mean to you? I
Yeah.
know what it means to me, but like, what does it mean to you? Because it's because of you this bill is coming into play.
Yeah. So Senate Bill 181 prohibits organizations from implementing discriminatory policies, and which obviously includes policies that discriminate against hijab. And this bill was, let me just tell you about how this bill got started, actually.
Let's go.
So I met Senator Gavarone in January of 2020. We met over coffee, and we were just talking because I'm like one of her constituents. So we were just talking, and I honestly I didn't expect her when I was like telling her my story to immediately take out her notebook and start taking notes right away before like I even like mentioned anything like of that, you know. So so subhanallah, just like the way that like me telling my story, doing these interviews led to, you know, going on a coffee date with the senator, and then just, you know, her taking notes. And then that night, one of my lawyers, she came to me and she was like, you won't believe what I talked to the senator or earlier today. And I was like, you called the senator, or the senator called you? And she was like, yeah, we talked. And I was like, oh, so this is happening. And then subhanallah, a couple months later, the senator called us, and she told us about the bill, what she's been working on, and that I would have to come in and testify. So it passed the Senate during the last General Assembly, but because of because of COVID happened, so then they had to push it to the back of the agenda, so it never got because all they were voting on was COVID laws. So so then it died out, and at the end of the General Assembly, all of the bills have to be I don't want to say thrown out, but like they're not good anymore. So they have to be reintroduced to the new General Assembly. So alhamdulillah, like right away, when I was, this is like the answer to like why it's so important to me. When I was entering the next cross country season after my incident, so the cross country season ended, and then I was going into my senior year. You know, there wasn't much rule change. So we had the bill, but the bill hadn't passed as law yet. So there was still that anxiety that, will this happen again? And I remember like walking on the bus for my first cross country meet of the season and just stopping in my tracks and turning around to asking my mom if I was going to be okay at this meet, referring to my hijab, because what happened was it was at the end of the season and now we were starting a new one, and I just wasn't sure what was going on. So it was at the end of the track season. So we got through cross country season, alhamdulillah. At the end of the track season, we were like, okay, we need to get this ball rolling again. The bill needs to be reintroduced in the Senate, and then it needs to be introduced in the House. And, you know, we called Senator Gavarone, and alhamdulillah, she was right on top of it. And I got to go and testify again, and we had to go through the whole process again. Alhamdulillah, it passed the House. So that's just why it means so much to me, is because even though like a few weeks after I testified, I graduated and I won't run in a track meet ever again, probably. That was not the point. You know what I mean? It was just like me remembering that anxiety and just thinking about the next hijabi athlete having to go through that on top of regular anxiety from doing track or cross country. I wouldn't want that for anyone else, which is why this bill is just, it's so special. And I think that it's going to make a lot of change in Ohio. And then inshallah, once we get it passed, other states will start to follow. And I think other states have already started to follow. So if we just keep the ball rolling, it can be something really special.
MashaAllah. That's truly very inspiring. Similar to the FIBA ban, that being lifted definitely motivated a lot of Muslim female athletes to continue to play sports and also advocate, for the similar, change in their community. So well done to you and congratulations. Inshallah.
Thank you.
We'll get it up there too. I'm super excited to see it. Next question. Both of you, you both have like a crazy busy schedule, and you wear many hats. Whether that is being a student athlete, running an organization, being a mother, wife, or doing speaking engagements like this. I know I struggle with time, but how are you able? How are you both able to balance and manage everything? This is a note for me, for myself, and I'm sure that our viewers have, going through the same issue. So tell us, and let's start with Armeen this time.
Really, I was gonna say let's start with Noor because I don't know if I have a good answer for this at all. Noor, it was so inspiring to hear you speak about Senate Bill 81. 81 or 181, sorry.
181, you're good.
Yeah, honestly, that is every athlete's, every activist athlete's dream to, change something in the papers and in the bills and the politics, because that's where everything trickles down from. So congrats to you for getting to that level. For Fitria's question, I honestly I don't even know why you asked me this, Fitria. I suck at getting back to your text and your phone calls. So I don't know how I'm supposed to give people advice on managing busy schedules. Honestly, I think what helps most at the end of the day um, is thinking about why we're doing this and renewing my intention and really just thinking about you know I'm doing this for the sake of Allah and for our ummah, for the betterment of Muslim females and our lives. And that's just the passion and the drive that keeps me going. And yeah, some days I'm super busy, I don't get anything done. And other days I'm super productive, and I'm up from 8 a.m. and I squeeze in every little bit of time I have throughout the day, and I squeeze a meeting in and a phone call in and email in. And those days I feel like I got a lot done. But it's we're human at the end of the day. So I don't think there's a yeah, I don't think there's this one piece of advice I can give people, like this is how you time manage, because I think I need that. But I think just renewing your intention at the end of the day and really reminding yourself, what are you doing all this for? Even when it comes to being a mother and being a wife and all these other all the hats that you wear, at the end of the day it all comes down to you're doing it for the sake of Allah. You're doing it because you're you, you just got to renew your intention and be aware of why you're doing what you're doing. So yeah, I hope you can give me
Yeah, no,
some advice, Noor, because
yeah,
I don't
no.
have.
No, that was great. I definitely agree. There's definitely some days where it's not going the way that you had planned. So then you don't end up getting any work done. But I can say that, before I took on Let Nor Run, the first thing that I did was establish a team. Not a very formal one, just the people that I know would be in my corner whenever I started slacking or I needed help, especially my mom. If one day I'm just freaking out and I just can't get those emails out, my mom will just be like, okay, well, let's just do it, and we'll sit down and we'll send out those emails. So just, I think having people like that in my corner really just helped me keeping it going. You know what I mean? And when there's sometimes we'll go 3 days without doing anything, or weeks even, right? And sometimes my mom will just be like, so Noor, what's next? So what are we doing next? And it's not okay, get to work, Noor. It's okay, let's work together. And I think for me, that's what really helped me, just having people and a team with you on it, that believe in the same mission and want to do this work with you. Then that's when I think things get easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think, yes, I know you're saying that, oh, I don't feel like I have my stuff under control, but what I notice about you is you get it done. It doesn't matter. If you say you'll get something done, you'll get it done. Yes, things, there are days you're I have to focus on, my child. I have to do this. There's so many things that just pop up out of nowhere, and they require quick attention. But at the end of the day, you get it done, and everyone's schedule is different, the timeline or whatnot. But yeah, that's my perspective of from the time I've been working with you. So don't feel like you don't have some sort of a routine.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually leads to my next question, Noor. but it's for both of you guys as well. So what are some advice and tips you can give to those that want to be involved in the community but are limited with time? I was saying that because in a way, actually, sorry, I feel like that went back to the first question, but having someone that you truly trust is so important behind, like, because they, first and foremost, they'll be honest with you, and then secondly, they will tell you like, okay, you know what, today's not going your day, like pause, come back tomorrow. I feel like that refreshment is so important. We forget, or like, I have to get things done, but forget about that statement. But my next question is, yeah, like tips and advice for people that actually want to be involved in the community and that want to do similar work as the two of you. Where, like, where would you recommend they start? Or, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of rumbling on there, but go ahead. Should I re-ask that? Or you got,
No, I got it. I'm just trying to
okay.
think of something. So yeah, I think that like again, I wouldn't be able to do it without those people in my corner. And I think that can go for everyone. Trying to take things on by yourself is, in my opinion, is too much. I'm 17 years old. When I started letting her run, I was 16. So I like doing that while doing soccer and cross country, and you're a mom, so like I'm sure that like you guys can relate. Just like having someone else to take on the load when you can't is definitely the only advice that I would have.
Yeah, I definitely agree. When I started hijabi, but I can't believe, Noor, you said you were 17 now, or you were 17 when you started letting her
Mashallah.
run?
Oh, I'm 17 now.
Goodness. Oh my
Mashallah.
goodness.
Mashallah.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I think I was like 19 or something, maybe 20 when I started hijabi ballers, and I'm kind of old now, but the point is, to get involved, to like take something that you want to do and like actually do it, it takes a lot more than just yourself, and it takes a lot more than just like the passion to want to do it. You need time, you need effort from yourself, but also like the people around you. And I think the most important thing is you need mentors that will help guide you to like make the right decisions and take the right steps, because they've done it before and they've been there. So I think speaking to people that you trust, people that have more experience than you do. I have some great mentors in my life that I reached out to, and I started hijabi ballers, who really, really like truly helped shape hijabi ballers and bring it to where it is today. Um, and it's as simple as like going to them with an idea and saying, hey, I want to do this, like what are my next steps. But it's really important that you are willing to put in the work and the time and the commitment, and every day is not going to be like fun and exciting. There are days where it'll be boring, and like you have to do a lot of paperwork and reply to a lot of boring emails. But at the end of the day, I think the bigger picture, like I was saying before, is to always renew your intentions, and to always keep in mind that who are you doing all this for, and why are you doing all this work. So yeah, I think one of the big pieces of advice would be like seek mentors that you trust, and that are aware of the industry that you're stepping into and have experience in doing similar work that you have. And funding is a big issue as well for a lot of startup organizations, programs, initiatives. So if you have funding issues, seek advice from local organizations who offer mentorship and funding and grant writing, things like that. Because honestly, like your passion and your drive will only take you so far. Like you need money to get some of the work done. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
I agree with that mentorship 100%. Alhamdulillah, I was able to go through high school with pretty amazing mentors on my side. So when I wanted to like start Let No Run, it was honestly just a walk in the park, just because I already had mentorship. And then over a year ago when I met Bilqis, that really for me that was like, this is like my human that I can like talk to, and she's been through similar things. So definitely, I agree with that mentorship.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. And then I feel like you both have already kind of mentioned what your drive is behind what you both do. But what does a drive and motivation? Where does a drive and motivation come from? And especially for the days that you're not, you don't want to do it. And yeah, I feel you guys both said that you remember the cause and it's for the sake of Allah. But do you guys have any, I guess, deeper answer to that? If not, I'll move on to the next question.
Yeah, I have something. So, when this incident happened, it was honestly it was heartbreaking because cross country for me was like a means to leave my troubles behind, and it just felt like the complete opposite. So I just wanted to hide in my room and cry and just let the time pass till my next race. But my older sister Celine, she reminded me of my younger sister Sophia's journey in sports that has just begun, and that she'll soon be the next hijabi athlete in the Abukaram household. And 5 years down the line, this same thing happens to her because I decided to cry in my room. I think that's what keeps me going every day. Every day that something gets hard and it's just answering emails, like the non-exciting days, I'm just like, okay, no, you have to get through this, because at the end of the day, it's about being selfless. Like, I mean, Amreen, I'm sure you know, like, we're not doing sports as much anymore. We're not competitive anymore. But other people are. Other people are being competitive, and they are trying to get to the next level. And so it's about being selfless for them.
Yeah, totally agree.
Love that. Selfless. And then next question. I feel like this actually connects with Noor's answer. What are some advice you can give to Muslim parents that want to involve their young girls in sport but don't think it's safe or worth their time, to help them overcome this challenge? Any of you could begin.
Yeah, sure, I'll start. I think it's a lot of these restrictions that parents have come from a place of fear of injury, or fear of straying away from Islam, or these fears that are somewhat irrational in a way, right? Like uh, of course, when you play sports, you're risking yourself to you have some sort of risk for injury, and there are a lot of places in sport where you could stray from Islam, but it's up to you and your intention, how strong you are in your faith. And um, all these doors are open uh, for you to like stray away from Islam, or to get hurt in sport and like say goodbye to sports forever. So I think a lot of parents are fearful of that. But I think what I would encourage parents to do who have daughters who want to play, but you're hesitant to let them play, would be to just go to a practice, go to a tryout, go to a game, and watch your daughter engage in sport and play. And I think that will really open the parents' eyes to the benefit of sport, and the benefit of sport to your daughter's mental health and physical health. And like I said, and like Noor said too, right? Like sport provides a lot more benefits than just being healthy. So a lot of parents will say, well, if you want to play sport, like, um, go outside and run or whatever. Like it's not as simple as just saying no to playing a team sport and then saying, oh, but just go to the gym instead, or do this instead. So I think, yeah, I think a really big piece of advice would be just to open open up your mind a little bit, and actually be present at the games, at the practices, and see what sport does for your child. And the second thing I would say is to consult other parents who have athletes, even if it's male athletes. Like, sport provides similar benefits for men and women. So even if it's it just talk to other parents who have athletes, and talk to them about you know their lives. um, I think the other thing is, shameless plug, on our Hijabi Ballers website, we have something called a coach's toolkit. And it's at hijabiballers.com/toolkit. And in the toolkit, we have some uh, tips and advice for coaches as well as parents of Muslim female athletes, in regards to dealing with the intersection of sport and religion. So, for example, we talk about the hijab and wearing hijab, and then we talk about Ramadan and fasting during Ramadan, playing sport. We talk about physical contact in sport with males and and females and things like that. So, there's all these topics that could come up when religion intersects with sport, where coaches and parents could learn a thing or two and like help their athlete, as opposed to saying, oh, don't play sport at all. I think it's on us to help open these doors and let parents be more comfortable, as opposed to just blaming them and saying, oh, you're doing the wrong thing, because parents at the end of the day, they want to look out for their kids. So yeah, check that out. It's hijabballers.com/toolkit. I think I gave a few points there, so I'll let Noor talk.
Awesome. Thank you.
I love that that toolkit idea. I think that's amazing. I'm gonna check that out. And I think that that's definitely a great resource for people to just get into it, and if they have questions, they're right there answered. I think, I mean, I'm not a parent, and but I am like a child who's gone through like athletics my entire life, and I've seen like other girls my age in the Muslim community that haven't been engaged in sport. And so last year I go to a private Islamic school, but I play sports for the public school. And when my Islamic school, we started a broomball team, and all the girls joined the team, and I've never seen like their faces light up so much. Honestly, it wasn't even just like that they were being active, but like they loved it. They loved the camaraderie of it, being a part of a team. And the attitudes at school were like a million times better. It was so much nicer being friends with them, just because they were in such better moods, because they got to go to practice after school. And I think that that's definitely something that, like she said, like just go watch your daughter play a sport, you know what I mean, and you'll just see the way that they light up and the way that they just love what they're doing, because it's something that they can be proud of, other than just like just important like their grades. So that's like one thing. And also, like for me, sports, alhamdulillah, like taught me to be confident. It gave me leadership skills and responsibility skills, and I think that these skills will 100% be transferred into whatever I do in the future. And that's the most important thing, because I wouldn't have been able to gain those skills doing anything else my entire life. And I can take those and I can transfer them for when I'm, going into the workforce or whatever I decide to do in the future. And that process will be so much easier for me, just because I was engaged in sports, during my lifetime, and you know what I mean? We're able to handle responsibility and heartache or whatever came with it. So yeah, I think that, if we want to think about it as a waste of time, or you want to see like, well, what good is that going to do if you could just be studying or doing something different, then, if you have to take like, what life skills will she be taking away from this, not just, playing the sport.
I love those. Thank you. And I was just gonna add that it is definitely coming from a place of love for their daughters, but I think it's important to ask what the daughter actually wants to, because like if they want it, let them try it out, and if they don't like it, they'll eventually change the sport and find another one that they truly love. And then another thing is, I would also recommend the parents to try out the sport as well, and then they will find the beauty aspect of it as well, and then they will see how fun it is, and the physical aspect, the mental aspect, and maybe encourage more of their community to actually take part in sports. So those are my two advice from my end, but you guys did a wonderful job just explaining from personal experience, which is so awesome. And then before we get into our live audience questions, the last question from my end: what is one advice you would like to leave our global audience with? It could be about anything. It doesn't have to be about the subjects you guys talked about. One advice.
So I would say that, like I mentioned, that before, when this thing happened to me in 2019, I honestly was not interested in telling anyone about it. I was like, no, it's okay. We'll get the waiver. We'll figure it out. It's okay. And then, obviously, like I said, like my sister encouraged me to tell people. But I think that after probably 5 months of interviews it wasn't until I realized, like, it wasn't until I talked to Senator Gavarone that I realized how powerful my voice can be. And that's the advice that I would give anyone, is just that every single person has a voice, and it's extremely powerful. And, you know, it's your responsibility at the end of the day to use it, which is something that I had to learn. And, you know, it's your responsibility to be brave and bold and use your voice for good and make change, because, you know, sometimes you think that it doesn't really matter. There's bigger things going on right now. But, you know, when the time comes and, you know, somebody tells you to say something, it's important to.
I love that.
I agree. I think I just want to add on to that. And even for like coaches and sport organizers and administrators, even, you know, your voice as advocates for Muslim female athletes is just as powerful. Don't think that just because you're not a Muslim female athlete, you have no place to like advocate for us. We need allies, and we need others who are not Muslim female athletes to advocate for us and to open up the spaces that we want to be a part of. Yeah, use your voice to, you know, ask athletes what are some accommodations that they would like, or you know, hey, we have this uniform, like do you need a long sleeve shirt underneath, or do you need a matching hijab with their school colors? Even things like that can go a long way, and it shows the athlete that the coach or the school or the organization is willing to accommodate to your needs. And to the athlete, like Noor said, you know, your voice and your voice is extremely important, and it's important that your opinions are heard. So as awkward or uncomfortable it can feel to like bring up some accommodation needs, or how you feel to your coach and your teammates, you know, be brave and make those steps, and ask for those accommodations, because you know, you're doing a lot more, you're opening up a lot more doors than just that one ask that you asked them for. So yeah.
Awesome. I agree. I think we also uncomfortable aspect, because I feel like we organizations like hijabi bars are not in different parts of the world yet, inshallah, in the future maybe. But I think it's important for us to realize that we have to take advantage of women's only spaces. Like, they're not only Muslim catered at the moment, but we have to try to get out of our comfort zone and get into the like, yeah, I hope that makes sense. So we can't society doesn't revolve around us, unfortunately. So we have to still try to create rooms for us by being in those rooms, because if we're not going to be in those rooms, if we don't want to be in those rooms because it's not for us, they're not even going to notice that we exist, right? So we have to be mindful of that. That would, yeah, uncomfortable, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. That, I think that makes more sense. And then questions from the live audience. These are wonderful. So for Noor, what skills have you developed by getting involved in sports activism politics?
Yeah. So subhanallah, like Noor a year and a half ago is a completely different person from Noor today. And I say that like in the best way possible. I would have never seen myself here where I am today, and that comes with like the experience. But sorry, what was the question again? Where did it go?
Skills you developed. Oh,
skills you have developed getting
yeah.
involved in sport activism.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd say 100% the obvious one is public speaking. The most like nerve-wracking thing for me was talking or testifying for Senate Bill 181. That was like, you know, the moment where I really put my skills to test. And alhamdulillah, like that has to be like one of the biggest skills. And then people skills, definitely, and just like managing my time. So I think that like this is kind of going back to the question that you asked a long time ago, but you know, when I found this passion, it was so much easier for me to be able to manage my time, and that's a skill that I'll take with me everywhere. So time management and public speaking.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. And then for both, how important is rest to you?
Sure.
I mean, to me, it's very important.
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah, rest days are the most important. My mentor told me a couple weeks after we finished the 5K. I was like, okay, I'm done with the 5K, and I was telling him what I think we should do next, and asking him what he thinks of it, and I was really excited. And then he said, "So you just finished the 5K?" And I said, "Yeah, we closed it. Everything's done yesterday. I finished it." And then he's like, "Okay, so just take today off." And he was like, take a breath today. And I was like, I was like on a roll. I was like ready to get the next thing going. But it is important to rest, like, physically and mentally, and just take a break and really just take in what just happened, what you just accomplished, for the next day.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I agree. You need time to debrief. You need time to relax and recharge. Um, rest in sport is just as important as rest in like activism work and work that we do every day. After a big moment, after like a big program, a big event, you really need to rest, and you need time to just think about what happened. Think about what are some good things that happen. What are some things that we can learn from, before we just jump onto the next thing. Yeah, I wish I had more time to rest, to be honest, but
Oh.
life is what it is.
Well, so in short, it's very important. So thank you both. And then we have another question. Noor, it's amazing about passing the bills. Do you have any advice for other women who want to change? What would be a great way to start? I guess it's really hard to get up after that disqualification. Oh, good question.
That is a great question. Thank you. But ooh, okay. So I'm just reading the question again. So yeah, it was difficult, but like I said before, that just having people in my corner that believe in the same thing that I do, made it made it easier. And I think a great way to start, if you wanted something like a bill, would be literally to talk to your state senators. I think they're much easier to reach than the bigger senators that are on the national level, because they have much less people that they have to talk to, and it's their job to speak to their constituents and to see what you need. So, and that's something that I didn't realize until I talked to Senator Gavarone, and she was like right away on the ball getting to work. I was like, what is she doing? But I realized that that's what they do, and civic participation is a big part of our lives as Americans, to really get involved and talk to those people and send them emails, call their assistants, and just start getting a conversation going, because that's what they do all day, other than voting on bills. But everything is always inspired by a story, by a person. I don't know if you guys know the "I'm just a bill." So like the beginning of that is all the county people coming together because they all had a problem and they wrote a bill and they wanted to give it to their senators. So yeah, that's definitely the place to start, is just writing up an email or a letter.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that is all we have for questions, but that's perfect because our session is technically done.
Oh, look at us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you good?
Yeah, I said right on time.
Okay. So that's all we have for now. Remember, you can stay connected with the work that we're doing at Muslim Women Sports Network through this YouTube channel, as well as our Instagram community at Muslim Women Sport Network. I'd like to thank our guests for their insights and for taking the time out of their precious day to spend time with us. And finally, thank you all for joining us today, wherever you are in the world and whatever your time zone. We hope to see you again soon at our next session of the Muslim Women Sports Network Global Summit 2021. The next session will be taking place in 3 hours, 8 p.m. Universal Time. To adjust your time zone, check out the Muslim Women Sport Network website and for further information on all our sessions scheduled for this year's summit. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Alaikum
salam.
Thank you so much for having us.
Wa alaikum salam.
It was really